Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're joining from, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad to see all of us attending. I'm glad to see my very able mentor, Abel, Walekhwa. I'm glad to see Dr. Dan Musinguzi, whom I've attended several sessions when he was coordinating or when he was the one leading. And I have very interesting stories about one day that I attended when Dr. Dan was reviewing people's, I think those are motivation letters for certain applications. That is a story for maybe another day, or probably within the conversation it will come in. But I'm so glad to see all of you and everyone else who is attending. So my name is Obilla Ogada. I am a Kenyan. Currently, I'm a master's student at the University of Western Cape in South Africa, doing my master's in international trade, business, and investment law. I started this year in February, and my master's is going for 1 year. And Abel asked me to come and share with us who are mentees of this program. I'm also a mentee of this program, as I've mentioned to you before that Abel is one of my mentors. I've met him before in Nairobi, and other stories that I'll be bringing in as we continue. But I've also attended several sessions that were being led by Dr. Dan Musinguzi and many others from whom I've learned so much. So today, basically, I was asked to just share my story on application for postgraduate studies application, because that is what most of us, the mentees who are here, have been aspiring to, or some of us are aspiring to do, or some of us have already done and probably are waiting for some feedback on scholarship, or some of us did the applications last year, probably for the UK universities, or some are still doing the applications right now for the universities that may be open. I understand that there are several universities from various jurisdictions, depending on the jurisdiction you might be interested in, that are open right now and are accepting applications. So most of us who are here, either you are applying or you've applied, you're waiting for feedback, or you're waiting to apply, maybe for those who are looking at UK and probably are looking for next year, that is the academic year 2025, 2026, then probably you are waiting to apply when the application opens for whichever university that you're interested in. And so I was asked by Abel to share my story, or rather to just come and confirm that some of the many things that you've had, because most of the things that I'm going to talk about are things that we've had before through these sessions that we've had, or some of the things that you've had Abel or many so other people like Dr. Dan say when it comes to postgraduate application process. Let's proceed. So some of the things, as I was saying, some of the things that I'm going to share, I've also worked for me in some other applications, like maybe just to share background, other than the masters that I'm doing right now. Last year, I applied for several masters and I got accepted for 3 of them. The ones that I applied for in the UK, I got an acceptance for a master's at the University of Edinburgh. I got an acceptance for a master's at the University of Dundee University in the UK, and Durham University. All those 3 are UK, where I was expecting to go if at all I got a scholarship. And some of them have given partial scholarship, and probably I'm just following up if at all I'll still be interested now that I'm already doing a master's. If I'll still be interested to follow up and to pursue those lines of study, then probably I may have to check if I can get scholarship for the remaining part of the school fees and then follow it up. So whatever I'm going to discuss here are things that I also add them, being mentioned by the several people that I've mentioned here, and I've applied them and they've worked for me. So for the first thing that I was told, and I'm going to tell us, when you're applying for postgraduate studies, is research about the program. Research about the program that you want to apply for. More often than not, we just see links sent to the group, and the first thing is you click on apply, and you first clicking, you input all your details there. You input your name, you attach your CV, you attach whatever motivation letter you run to your referees to give you references, and they give you references, and you attach them there without even taking time to research about the program and whether the program aligns with your priorities, whether the program aligns with your availability, and whether you meet for the program. So that I know application process for postgraduate is tedious, and so it would not really make sense if you are going to waste 2 weeks applying for a program that probably you are not qualified to do in the first place. So the first thing is for you to just check, research about the program, and know what the program has to offer. And even most important, what are some of the things, what are some of the course content of that program, so that does it align with what you want to do? So for instance, if I want to do a course on climate change, and I've seen some program that is mostly talking about sustainable development goals. Yes, climate change would be one of the sustainable development goals, but does this program specifically go deep into climate change if I wanted a deep study or a deep dive into climate change, so that I don't go doing a general study on something that, yes, I'm not saying that it would be useless, but probably it does not align to my goals or my priorities. So it's good to research about a program. And then also research about the institution, because various institutions have various requirements. And sometimes even programs have various requirements. For instance, you may talk about Cambridge University. It may have different requirements for, say, an LLM in human rights as opposed to an LLM in corporate law or something. So research about the institution, but more specifically also research about the program, so that you know what are the institutional requirements for any master student or for any PhD student, if at all there's any prospective PhD applicant attending for this particular program that I want to do. But also sometimes, it's also good sometimes to know the rating of that program, because also you don't want to do a program that after doing it, then it's a master's that you have it, yes, in your CV, and you have the certificates, and then what else after that master's? And that is why most of us are happy that Abel, as far as I know, and Dr. Dan, as far as I know, they've usually sent us programs that are really highly rated. So any program that you meet, by the way, you need to at least check what do people say about this program, and that would go back to the course content, like what do they offer and all. Because sometimes it might be a very less known university, but probably the program is designed in a way that it's highly rated more than even the university itself, because probably the program is offered by maybe a partnership of several universities, or maybe a university with some institution that gives that program a higher rating than any other program within the same institution. And then while researching about the program, also check to know who is the program coordinator, because sometimes you may, it's very important. And this is what I got from Abel. This I didn't know before. And I'm going to tell you it because probably you've heard it from Abel and it has worked for me. Find who is the program coordinator, and sometimes you may need to email them, whether it's a requirement for the application process or not. Sometimes it's very important to email them, probably to clarify on some things that may not be very clear, because sometimes also when they're designing the adverts for the programs, mostly they use the general adverts that they use for any program in that institution. Probably you are applying to some new program in a science department in some university, and that is that is a very new program that has some more details that probably the old advert that they are used to putting out there, maybe for some other social science courses or for some other social science programs, might not particularly fit into this program. So that sometimes it's good for you to seek some clarifications from the program. So it's very important for you to first even email the program coordinator and just get some clarification. But also that, as I was told by Abel, also gives you upper hand. It gives you upper rating while they're reviewing the applications, because the program coordinator might just be one of the people who will be sitting to decide on who is getting the chance. And if the program coordinator remembers that there was this guy called Jesse Birungi who emailed me and they was very passionate about this program, you're likely to get it if at all there was a tie between Jesse Birungi and Emma Muyeti. If I was a program coordinator and Jesse Birungi even took an initiative of emailing me as a program coordinator, then I'm likely to pick Jesse Birungi. And that is something that I've done before and it has worked. Other than the program coordinator, you may also want to talk to the alumni or one of the alumnus of that program. Because yes, talking to the program coordinator may give you some information, but there is that student perspective information that an alumnus will stand a better position to give you that a program coordinator probably would not give you. An alumnus would be also, I suppose, would be clear with you, or they would want to be as honest as possible and tell you that if you're looking for this, yes, you will get it here. Or if your interest is in this, you will get it here, or you may not get it here. That probably they would, because if they have done that program, then probably they know some other related programs, and they'll tell you, if you're looking for this, then you will not get it here. Probably try applying for this program. Or also the benefit of sometimes also talking with the alumni, they will also tell you related programs that you can apply for, so that you also cast your net. Something that I'm going to talk about. You also cast your nets wider, so that you've applied for trade program at UWC, you've applied for trade program at International Economic Center or somewhere, or you've applied for trade program at this other university, which is known. And those are some information that you can just get from maybe the alumni. They will tell you that, yeah, there's also this option, you can try it out. There's also this option that you can try it out. But also the benefits of trying to find an alumnus from that institution for that same program that you're applying for, if it's not the first year the program is being offered, is there are those requirements that sometimes they were listed in the advert. And of course, talking to the program coordinator, if the advert said English test is a requirement for people who are not coming from English-speaking countries, then the program coordinator will not tell you anything different. They will tell you English test is a requirement. But probably when you talk to the alumnus, they will tell you, yes, English test is a requirement, but while applying, you may just apply before doing the test, and then probably the school has a way in which they can take you through their own internal test without necessarily doing the ITLS. I'm not saying people should not do ITLS, but I'm just trying to give you some vital information or some vital secrets that sometimes you can get from the alumni that no other person will tell you, that probably at some point even the program coordinator would not tell you. Those are some of the vital informations that you'll get. Or probably there are some universities in the UK that requires fee deposit. Once they give you an offer, then the offer is conditional on you making some deposit for fee. For instance, some universities require as much as 1,500 euros. And that is a requirement that you deposit it within, they give you maybe a month to deposit. And probably you are waiting for Chevening, that probably by the time the university is giving you an offer, Chevening has not even listed people for interviews. So you don't know. And by the time the 1 month will be ending, they will be withdrawing the offer. You may not even know how do you go about this. So the alumni of that program will tell you that what you do at that point, you email the university, tell the university that this is it, I'm waiting for this scholarship, I'm waiting for decision on this scholarship. And now they will not withdraw, they'll just keep extending the deadline for you, until you get to that point where if you're lucky enough, then you get the scholarship, and then you proceed and follow your ambitions and follow your passions and follow your academic pursuit. So that is the other point. Talk to an alumni community or find an alumnus of that program, talk to them. There are things that they will tell you. And as I've also mentioned, that they will even recommend for you other programs that probably are similar to that you can apply to, so that even if you don't get the same program that you wanted to apply to, probably you also applied elsewhere, and probably for that you will make it. Sometimes it's not because you are bad, or it's not because you do not qualify. Sometimes it's just we wanted 15 and 45 people have applied, and we've already taken 2 from Africa. So we are not taking any more from Africa, or we've already taken 2 from Uganda. So let's take another Kenyan. And that's how you as a Ugandan, the third Ugandan, you'll miss it. Not that you are so bad. Or for the past 5 years, we've always had 5 people from Uganda. So for the first time, at least we're having someone applying from Somalia. Let's take this guy from Somalia. And that's how you miss it. Not because you are not qualified, but just because of those other demographics that are beyond your control. So that is why sometimes also it's good to cast wider. Something else is that I've learned out of experience is prepare your documents in good time. If we are talking right now and you are planning to make your applications in September, October, November, December, when the UK application opens, mostly it usually closes the first week. I think 2nd of December, 1st of December or something for the UK universities, most of them. Start preparing your application documents as early as now. The only thing that probably if you're still a student and you are awaiting graduation, you're just waiting for your transcript. Transcript, you don't even need to prepare them. You'll wait to get them from school and scan them and have them just ready. But these are the things that you may need to prepare. You just go to the website. You say, probably I want to do masters in biochemistry. Where? From maybe the University of Cambridge or something. Then I go to the University of Cambridge website right now. I'm able to tell what are their requirements, even if the application portal is closed right now. What are the requirements? Once I find out the requirements, that I need a motivation letter, I need a reference letter or something. Reference letter, of course, probably you may need to get it maybe so that it's also not so old that it's being seen as some reference letter that you used, I don't know, for some job application somewhere. But at least the things that are within your control, CV, refining your CV, refining your motivation letter, start preparing your documents as early as possible. Don't wait until the application portal is open, and then that is when you want to start making your application, or that is when you want to start preparing your application. When you also have some other things to do, I believe probably you have work to do, you have internships here to do, you have some other things to do, and the application process also is another work that is so demanding. So prepare your documents in good time so that you don't find yourself in this situation where you are locked out of time, or the deadline is there, and just like people usually say, as Africans, we usually die on the line. So if the deadline is on 5th, we die on that line. So not that person dies on the line when there is a deadline set. So prepare your documents in good time. Something else is the documents that needs to be updated. Please update them. Probably I applied last year, I didn't make it, and now I want to apply this year, and then I still use the same CV. Probably there are things I've done past that time, or even while I was applying, I was doing something. So I need to update my CV. Let someone not see that. Sometimes even worse, I've not even updated my new working place, or I am still saying what 2019 to date, I'm working in this place, yet I left that place like 1 year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 months ago. Please update those documents that needs to be updated. Update your bio, update whatever, motivation. And also things like motivation. You may think if I applied for masters in environmental law last year, then the motivation I used, I can still use it this year to apply for masters in environmental law, especially if I failed, or even if I got it. Even if I got that opportunity, if I go to that motivation, that same motivation letter that I sent out, knowing that this is the best that I could ever give to the University of Edinburgh, I'll still get some mistakes in that motivation letter. So don't just pick it and return it to them, just changing the date. No, check that motivation letter, read through it. You'll find several things that you could still edit in that motivation letter. Whether you got that opportunity and probably just didn't join because of scholarship or something, or because of funding or something, you will still get something that you can change in that motivation letter. You'll still get something that you can change in whatever document that you submitted them, except for of course for the transcript. Don't change it. But the documents that are in your capacity to get, please edit them, refine them. Day and day you keep refining them. And also this is something that Abel will preach over and over again. Don't use the same CV applying for job, and that is the same CV that you use to apply for masters in, say, human rights law. Sorry, I'll be using more examples in law because that is my field. Masters in human rights law, that is the same CV that you use when you're applying for environmental law. That is the same masters that you use in applying for, I don't know, economics law or something. It would not make any sense. At least when I'm applying for environmental law, I should be showing some experience in environmental law. And Abel has taken his time over and over again. I don't think there's any specific here. Abel has never taken us through how to design a winning CV. So let's use those concepts, but keep refining our CV and over emphasize on that. And then something else, it's important to get someone to help you review your applications. Sometimes it can be your peer, but also it's good to have someone who's gone before you, like Abel, and I know that is Dr. Dan, has always been helping us over and over again. They've always been here helping us. Sometimes we even organize calls where they read your motivation letters, and then like now there comes my story with Dr. Dan. I remember that day I was attending, and then that was my first time. I think the first time I was ever attending this mentorship program after I'd met Abel in Nairobi. And I was just wondering if this is what people are writing and this is the feedback Dan is giving them. Am I ready to meet Dan today? Hey, it was something else. But those things, those criticisms, they help you build on your motivation. So that my second motivation now was different. And I remember the first person who ever reviewed my motivation was Abel. And it was not, what is the best word? It was kind, yes, but he was not sparing me. He was telling me, what are these? Do you want this? Do you want this opportunity? Do you know how many people are applying for the same opportunity? So you can't just be putting shallow words here. You have so much to write. Like the story can be seen from your motivation. The story can be seen from your CV. Like your experience can be seen, but then you are not putting that down on paper. Now to the next point, which I've also mentioned before there, you might also need to cast your nets as wide as possible, but also I indicate a disclaimer as relevant as possible. Because again, if my interest is in, say my interest is in space science or the science of the space, then today I apply for the science of space or something like that, and then tomorrow I'm in biomedical, and then tomorrow I'm applying for something else. Even the applications will confuse you. Before you confuse the people you're applying to, it will first confuse you, because it would even be difficult and sometimes inconsistent, and sometimes even reading, following up on your story would be difficult. I understand they're not going to the same person, but even you, while writing your story, it would be difficult to wear all those shoes at the same time. So as much as they're relevant, you might want to cast your nets as wide as possible, so that probably if your interest is in space law, or if your interest is in biomedical science, then you may want to apply it, say, in Cambridge, and then another one you apply at Edinburgh, the other one you apply here and there, and many other such programs. So cast your nets as wide as possible, because sometimes casting your nets as wide as possible does not mean that you do not believe in yourself and you just want to try anyone that will accept you. No, because like I told you, there are some other demographics that sometimes play at the point of making a decision on who to pick for a program, because the programs have limited numbers. They do not just offer everyone who applied, who can pay school fees, or who can get funding to live in the UK, or US for that instance, or Germany for that instance. There are other demographics that apply. Say, even if you're the program coordinator and you've been admitting 7 Kenyan students every year, you are talking about Africans, you're admitting Kenyan students, and then for the first time a Nigerian student applies, you'd want to consider them at an expense of a Kenyan student, because you're like, let's do some regional balance. So there are some demographics that sometimes are plays. That does not mean that you are not good at whatever you are applying for, or you didn't put the best foot forward. That's why sometimes it's very important that you cast your nets as wide as possible, so that you don't just apply to one program and that is it, waiting for feedback. Yes, you might be lucky to get it, but sometimes also those demographics might play against you, and it was just not your day and you didn't get it, and now probably you have to wait for that the next time that program is going to be advertised again, which sometimes may interfere with several things that you are planning, or with several life goals that you are having, or academic goals. But also, last but not least, before we open it up for questions and answers and comments from other seniors who are here, is never give up. Yes, never give up. As simple as you understand it, never give up. There are so many stories. Abel will tell you a story. Probably will tell you a different story. I will tell you a story. Sometimes it's not the first application. Yes, and there are also those success stories, by the way. That doesn't mean that there are not those stories. There are those stories of someone just applied for the first time and they got it, and that is it. And they went, they did their masters, they applied for PhD and they got it, and they went, they did their masters, and that is it. But that doesn't mean that if you tried last year and you failed, then that is it for you, that you are too dumb, that you can't be accepted for a master's program or for a PhD program, or your application was so bad. No. And as we've said before, there are those demographics that plays, or even sometimes even personal biases. The people who review these applications are human beings, so they may have their personal biases based on whatever reasons that they will be preferring. Or probably last year they admitted a student from Uganda who misbehaved, so they'd rather play with a Kenyan whom they have never admitted than admitting another student from Uganda who will disappoint them, or whom they do not know if the student will disappoint them or not. So never give up. Keep trying it. If you tried last year and you didn't get it, or if you tried last year, you got it, but you didn't get funding, you tried last year, you got it, but the funding was not sufficient. They were just giving you probably half scholarship, or just giving you scholarship for the tuition fee and not the living expense, and so that prevented you from pursuing your dreams. Please don't stop dreaming. Keep trying it. Keep trying it over and over again. You will make it. You will make it. Never give up. Never give up. That is the end of my talk. That never give up. Keep trying it over and over again, and it will one day work. And make as many applications as possible. Look at something else that I may want to add that has just come into my mind right now. Sometimes also, as we are looking at the major global, or rather the major scholarships that we know, that when you talk about UK, then you're talking about Chevening, you're talking about Commonwealth, and then which other ones? Yes, those scholarships. Also look at, probably when you're looking at a university, look at what are their scholarships, because some programs you apply and then you get some other scholarships embedded in those programs, and apply for them as early as possible, because sometimes the mistake most of us do, and I've found myself doing that mistake, is I applied with Chevening in mind, and so most of your energy were focused on Chevening, yet you applied for these 3 universities, got all of them, and probably Chevening did not work out, and so you suffered because all the deadlines for the other scholarships that you would have applied for, that programs that you are eligible for, that you would have applied for, are now passed. The deadlines are passed, and you can't apply for those scholarships again. You only clogged your mind on Chevening. I'm not saying applying for Chevening is bad, and I'm encouraging, please apply, because it's a good scholarship, but also find the scholarships. If that same program, if that same university has some other scholarships, please apply them, so that you don't just apply for the program, make the best application, get the program, and then after that you can't proceed because you didn't get funding, because you only applied for Chevening, and probably Chevening did not take it because it was highly competitive, or MasterCard did not take it because it was focusing on a specific area, because MasterCard usually has thematic areas. So probably this year they're focusing on climate change, next year they'll be focusing on something else, and probably your masters of interest is probably not related to climate change, or probably, as Dr. Abel will tell you, is you can also refine your motivation to have your masters, whatever it is, to have some link with climate change, but sometimes yours is so far away from climate change that by the time you are trying to link it to climate change, it's already a weak application because it's so far away. So in those circumstances, please make as many applications for scholarships also as possible and within the time that is required, so that calls for planning, so that I know, say if you are someone who's looking forward to apply in October, November, the UK application time mostly, then you've already identified the universities you want to apply to, if they have some scholarships, so that you create a timetable or kind of where you know that this scholarship is for this program, and I'm also looking forward to apply for MasterCard. I'm also looking forward to apply for Chevening. And these are the deadlines for the various scholarships, including the scholarships that are within the universities or within the faculty or within that program, that are embedded within that program, so that you also don't suffer the loss of having spent so much time, which is required by the way, having spent so much time for Chevening and didn't get the time even to apply for some of those other scholarships that would have been easy to probably. The probability, the amount of probability that we were taught in schools, the probability of getting that other scholarship probably would have been higher than Chevening, that you're competing with 78,000 applicants. Yet this one probably it was specific to that program, and probably you'd just be competing with the 15 who have been accepted or the 20 who have been accepted. And now they look at the needs of these 20 students who have been accepted. Of those 20, maybe 10 can pay for their scholarships. So that again reduces the number to 5 or to 7. So yeah, also consider those. So that if you are looking forward to apply in September, the thing I'll tell you is, if you're looking for Chevening, I'll even advise you to start preparing your essays for Chevening as early as now, so that that time when the application process opens, you are able to finish up Chevening and do it in the as early as possible, and then focus also your energy on other scholarships, so that at least also if you don't get Chevening, you still have other shots to make maybe on other scholarships that are available. But also when it comes talking to the program coordinator, that is also something else that the program coordinator might enlighten you on, because probably there are some scholarships that might not necessarily be advertised or might not necessarily be the portal, but then they are there, so that you may need to ask them if there are some funding options and all that, and they might enlighten you on that end. And to that end, that marks the end of my presentation. So
thank you so much, Council Obilla. This has been a very wonderful talk. And I want to sincerely thank you for creating time to come and encourage fellow applicants. And I want to encourage applicants who have joined us to ask their questions in the chat. And for those who are joining us for the first time, I've seen a number of them. My name is Abel Wilson Walekhwa, and we have Dr. Dan Musinguzi on the call, and other mentors. I've seen patients, Trinama Scores also on the call. So we normally hold these webinars, and they are always there every Tuesdays from 7 to 8 p.m. Nairobi time. So please, you're always welcome. The same link you've used to join today, you're welcome to keep logging in, and we learn from other people. Obilla is a success story who has gone through a lot of mentorship and a lot of support from the UG scholarships group. And so we are happy to bring him back, and he shares with you what he has shared. And I've seen a number of you, you've joined in late, but you listen to the recording because we don't want to take him back. But Obilla, I want to really thank you. You've highlighted a number of things, and I just want to pick 2 to 3 of them, such that I can give chance to other people to also ask questions. You've emphasized the need to prepare. You've emphasized the need to read about the program. You've emphasized the need to work, to speak to the alumni or alumnus of the program. More so if the program has been running for some time. You've clearly indicated that there could be some silent things, some silent information that may not be on the website. and may be emphasized by the coordinator of the program in ABC, yet the alumnus will tell you that, look, it is actually XYZ. This one, we just mention it this way, but the actual issue is XYZ. And I found those aspects really, really intriguing. And you said, please do not give up. Do not give up. Do not give up. And I think you mentioned that several times, and I hope members here who on the call have heard that message clearly. You've also emphasized the need to cast the net wide. I'm aware of people who say, me, I am going to apply to only one place called University of Oxford, and they don't want to try another place. They don't want to try another place. But here you've really emphasized it, and you've said, please cast your net wide, but make sure it is relevant. That was a very good caveat that you put in, and I want to thank you so much for that. You also emphasized the need to get peer review or mentorship, somebody to help you look through your work. And you emphasize that sometimes they will be giving you feedback which you may not want to hear, yet it is relevant. And I want to pick you from there. Do you want to share part of feedback that Abel gave you that you didn't want to hear, but later on you listened to it and it helped you reshape your CV and your write-up? Just briefly.
Oh, thank you, Abel. I was struggling to admit.
I'm sorry, because
and,
people were making noise, so I turned all the settings. I'm so sorry for that.
That's fine, Abel. Yeah, so I think the first time I was applying after meeting Abel in Nairobi, so I made a shot at some master's program at Cambridge, and I forwarded my application to Abel for review. And the first thing was my CV. Abel was, your CV contains a lot, but speaking nothing. Yeah, so in as much as I was, that is a comment that it's not it's not good to listen to, or it's not good to take in, but if you take it in, it will save you up. Because he was telling the truth. My CV, I wrote several things, but not qualifying anything. For instance, if you talk about you participated in this, participated in this youth mentorship. Now, when you're talking about non-academic programs, what impact did it have? So that you're not just talking about throwing words there that you participated in youth mentorship. Anyway, people participate in youth mentorship. What they're looking for is what impact has that brought? You participated in this moot program. What impact, or what was the theme of that moot that makes it important? Because anyone can participate in any moot. What was the theme that makes it important and probably relevant to whatever you're applying to, so that you bring some connection also with what you're applying to, so that it's not just CV that is highlighting, I worked at Birongo Advocate. So what does that have to do with the program that you are doing? So that at least you can qualify that through that internship that you got at Birongo Advocates, or whichever law firm that you worked with, say Bowman's Uganda, how is it related to the program that you're applying to? So those are some of the feedbacks that I didn't like, but were very crucial in helping me modify my CV to be what now I can say is better than what I had before. But also some another correction that I remember I got from Abel was on my motivation. Now the first thing Abel asked me, do you really want this program? Because do you know how many people you're competing against? And it's true, because you're competing against so many people, and you are here telling a story, and you're just telling it like we are just here and we are trying to apply. So if you want us, please accept us. Abel was very intentional about tell your story, that anyone who hears your story, even without necessarily knowing you, will want to meet you. That your motivation letter would speak to you, that without even you going to that room, then that motivation alone is able to secure you that scholarship, or it's able to secure you that chance in that university.
Okay. I remember one of the things that we were struggling in your application is that actually there were two things. Number one is that you didn't have a lot of work experience, but you were finalizing your internship in one of the law firms in Kenya, and you were afraid to capture that that work experience, that you were at first you were afraid. You're saying, I think I shouldn't capture this. I'm just I'm just entering the work experience. I haven't fully registered as a lawyer. And I was building confidence in you. I was saying, please look, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The other thing that I remember we are struggling to do is how to align with the climate change aspect. I remember you had done some work, but you were not able, in the first application, you were not bring it out very well. And that should be something that people normally struggle with in terms of not having enough work experience. I will put the word enough in quotes, not having a lot of work experience, but also having done quite a lot elsewhere, and you're struggling to make the story here. Do you just want to share your small story and how we realigned?
Thank you, Abel. So I'll try to be as brief as possible. Yes, so those are some of the challenges that we got in my first application. There's some work that I had done, but then I was feeling that it was not sufficient, or I was feeling like it was not worth putting in the application. So every work matters. It just matters. What Abel told me while I was refining that is, it matters how you tell your story. It can be as little as you volunteered in some children's home, but how you tell that story might make you win over someone who has 5 years of corporate experience. So what matters a lot is how you share your story. And then secondly, now on the experience that you have, but then it's not speaking to what you are applying to, is try to carve those experience or try to define those experience within the limitations of what you're applying to. So that if you're applying to climate change, how is your experience relevant to climate change? If you're applying to, say, communicable diseases, try to define your experience, maybe working in that health center in whatever village in Uganda or in whatever that village in Kenya, to suit the specific masters that you're applying to, so that you just don't say that you worked in an hospital and that is why now you're applying for this malaria program. If it's malaria program, try to make your experience go around your experience around malaria, so that it kind of shows that, one, you have experience in that field, but also it's connected to what you're applying for. It's connected to the need for pursuing further knowledge in this field.
Okay.
I think that answers your question, Abel.
Yes. Obilla, you've really hammered many points home. I remember you clearly emphasized that please don't just there is a word we normally call it regurgitating. Like, don't just keep reshuffling the same personal statement here, the same personal statement here, the same personal statement here. The truth is that one of the mentees recently, she felt she was late to respond to a scholarship, and I want to be specific. It was a World Bank they call it World Bank Japan program. So I told her, you share with me your application and we go through it. She said, no, I am time bad, but I remember whatever we discussed in the other scholarship. So this mentee of mine just submitted without us going through this. And by this person said, I now know what I'm supposed to put. However, the truth is that they used the other personal statement, the other motivation letter, which we used for the other scholarship. Unfortunately, they couldn't even edit well. So they put certain information which was in the UK, and they were quoting the same information in the World Bank and the Japan scholarship. The truth is that they received feedback, and they received detailed feedback, and the reviewers pointed out some of these gaps of sending haphazard information, but also information which has been sent elsewhere. They were able to detect it. And you hammer that message home, but do you want to explain something more in that line? Because one of my mentees was writing a document, and she didn't know that I can detect that she has used ChatGPT. Now, I asked politely, say, have you ever used ChatGPT in your life? She said, why do you ask? I said, no, I'm just asking. She said, I just used it to rephrase my words, but the thinking was mine. I just wanted it to rephrase it to help me put the, okay, like to use compelling messages. I told her, unfortunately, I have detected it. So it is possible other reviewers will also detect it. And this meant he was a PhD applicant. What is your comment on that, Obilla?
Thank you, Abel. Thank you, Abel. I think what we must take with a lot of seriousness is even for the motivation letter, it might not, some universities or some programs will ask for even a sample of your writing. But the universities or the programs that do not ask for sample of your writing, the first impression that they, or the first thing that they can use to judge you while giving you a program is that motivation letter. And so once they see it's generated from maybe ChatGPT or any other online source, or it's something else that do not align to what you wrote in your CV, then they are kind of afraid to give that program because they know that even your thesis, you would have struggles writing your thesis, or you'd even have struggles writing your class assignments, because that is the same thing that you'd do. Because if writing your own motivation letter for the program, you went to whatever online source, then what about an assignment where you will be required to think it's not your story, it's what other people have written? So they would be afraid. They would really be afraid. So that really gives them a very bad impression of you. So that is something that you not do. And then also, even if you take someone else motivation, even if it's for the same program that that person won and got, it would not work for you, because that motivation, as you might know or you might not know, probably it will not be your writing style. Different people have different writing styles. And that does not make you any less a person. People just have various styles of writing, and that would be detected for people who have read several motivations, because that's not the first motivation letter they are reading. They will detect it. But also, if your motivation is not aligned with your CV, that it's speaking different thing from what you are speaking in your CV, then someone would clearly tell that this motivation is lifted from somewhere. It's not the same as what is contained in your CV, and so it would just be detected. So don't try that. It will really seriously at your application.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will invite my colleague to just ask some too. Then we give chance to any questions in the chat. Dr. Danny, try to unmute, and if you have any comment to make or any question to ask Obilla.
Thank you, Abel. Thank you, Obilla. That was quite interesting. I would like to make a follow-up on one of the comments that you made. You made some applications and you got admitted with no funding. And this seems to be a very big cancer for most of our people, of knowing that I'm applying for this to this university, but at the end of the day, I'll get admission and no funding. And I've had a number of people really stuck with many admission letters with zero funding. And some people seem to think that admission is equivalent to a scholarship. Actually, yes, it could be, but not necessarily. I'd like to know what made you to apply for admission, yet you knew that there was no funding.
Thank you, Dr. Dan, for that. So I think probably what I did not put into context, I was applying for those programs with other scholarships that I was applying for on the side. So what the situation, or the normal situation that most people, not everyone of course, that most people find themselves in, is the funding bid failed, but you secured an application, or you secured an admission. So probably for me, it was just how to navigate from there. So how would I navigate? Some of them I would email the program coordinators and ask them if there's any funding. And of course, in those emails also, you have to express the passion so that at least if there was anything, then they would be interested to fund you. So you have to express passion and tell them how you're passionate about that program and you'd really be willing to save for the funding. So if not for the funding, then you do it. Or sometimes if the program allows, then you can always defer and wait for the next set of funding applications and make those applications for funding now when you already have an offer for the university. So for me, I didn't apply for a program without funding. I was applying for other fundings that didn't go through. I don't know if that answers your question or you were leading somewhere else, Dr.
Oh, okay. Now I get the context. I got the context. Yes, but the point here is for other people online is that unless a scholarship wants you to first apply to get admission letter, I usually tell my mentees that don't waste time applying for admission with zero funding, because people think that once they get admission, everybody will run to them and say, oh, you've been admitted to the University of Manchester, here is the money, go and study. No, that's not the case. So make sure that when you are applying, there is some funding you are applying to. Don't just apply for the sake of getting admission letters. It's very easy to get admitted. Even if you wanted to get admitted tonight, you can get admission. But funding, no. My last question is, what was the most challenging part of your application and why?
Thank you, Doctor. And let me just first agree with your sentiments above. Yes, no one should apply for a program without having knowledge of where they're going to get funding, except for maybe the universities where scholarship required you to have maybe a letter first, that you have admission letter first. So don't go applying for admission without knowing where you're going to get your funding from. The most challenging part of my application was preparing the documents. It's work, and I would want to tell everyone who wants to apply to be ready to do that work. Nothing comes easy, and even these admissions, you really have to put yourself down and make those applications so that if they are requiring motivation letter, it's not the same motivation letter that I sent to Edinburgh that I'm going to send to Dundee, that I'm going to send to Durham. I have to do a different motivation letter because I have to specifically, when I'm talking about Dundee, then I look at the program as it is. I look at the content of that program, and my motivation speaks to the content of that program. And for example, now my motivation for Dundee was speaking to the particulars of that program. When I went to Durham, I'm speaking to particulars of that program, which probably is different from, it's the same course, but it's different from the particulars of the program for Dundee. And also Durham, I found something on leadership and all that. So I was also speaking to that extra skill that they offer to students on leadership, so that it's not the same motivation letter that I prepared for Edinburgh that I sent to Durham, and the one I sent to Dundee. They were so different. They were so different in so far as they were speaking to particulars of that program and how that program is rated and whatever, how the school is rated and all that. So that was the most challenging part, but it calls for diligence. Yeah, just sit down and do whatever you need to do for you to get whatever you need to get.
And thank you so much, Obilla. And you raise a very important point. So actually for me, when my mentees come to me and they are saying, I want to apply for 20 scholarships, and this one I picked it from Dr. Dani. He asked me, how many are you going to apply for? I don't remember the answer I told him. And he told me, no, we are going to apply for 2 big ones, but we will make sure that the application is high quality and we will increase our chances of penetrating. And he told me, you can keep applying as many as you can, but you're repeating the same mistake. 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 So rejection is going to be the order of the day. But something I want to pick your brain on before you go, Obilla, is I have had around 5 of my mentees go up to the level of an interview. I mean, they have excelled here and they reach a level of an interview and they lose it at interview level. In your own experience, and you can just speculate, what do you think is the gap at that level? Why would you think this person would go through, they go through this level, they pass, they go here, they even get invited for the interview, and after the interview, the following day, they tell them, we are not progressing with your application forward. In your what can you speculate as a gap that needs to be improved by the mentees on the call?
Thank you, Abel. On that, this would be my answer. I may not be 100% right, but this may be my answer. One, by the time you're being invited for interview, meaning they already have people who are progressing to that level, and they still need to shift to get some people proceed and some people remain. And so by the time you're going for an interview, just know that it's not automatic that you're going to get it, because you're also going to compete with the best brains. And that means also your preparation must also be heightened. And that means even the same way you prepare for your applications, the same way you should prepare for interviews. And preparing for interviews, probably some people do usually have simulations. I don't know if Abel, you've organized that for some people who are going for interviews, so that at least you have simulations on how to answer some questions, some your most expected interview questions, and how to answer them. And also, what I've had, a story I've had from a friend of mine who got chauffeuring, and she's doing chauffeuring right now, is you told your story in the paper, and it was so good because, again, Dr. Abel, just allow me to call you doctor for now. Dr. Abel reviewed your motivation. Dr. Dan reviewed your motivation. So they made sure there was quality. Your story was flowing. And then you go for that interview, and then you cannot express that story in 3 minutes. Then they think that your story was just fabricated here and there, because if it's your story, you should be express it so clearly in the simplest and in the least time possible, that in probably the first few sentences, you've already told your story clearly, that people are able to believe that this story is believable. So sometimes also it comes to preparation, that sometimes what I may speculate is we prepare so much on the written application, which is not anything to be underrated. We should prepare as much so that we get to those levels. And then probably we don't put so much on the oral interviews. And by the time you're going for orals, you're going for those oral interviews with other smart minds, with other smart brains, so that you really have to do your work extra hard, knowing that you are going against other champs that might be smarter than you, or might be equally smarter like you. And so probably just one single mess, then you are done. And also the advantage of preparing is also it helps to deal with tension, because those things can happen. Someone can be very ready, they were prepared, and then they go that morning, and then all of a sudden they are so tensed that they were not able to answer well, and probably that is how they missed it. Those are some speculations that I would be making, but I'm not speaking with certainty that those are the reasons why probably they don't get it. But those are just the speculations I would make.
Yeah, excellent, and thank you so much. One last one from me is that actually, if you've noticed on the call, or you've noticed in that UG scholarships groups, we have 9 groups. All together, we are doing a summation with Dr. Dan. All together, we have about 7,000 people. 7,000, close to that. However, we have less than 100 people applying. But also we note that 80% are applying for the 2 big scholarships. I'm using the word big in quotes. 2 big scholarships. Now, let's first tackle the big problem. What about the 99% who are on the UG scholarships and are not applying at all? They are not trying. They are not even pushing their leg forward to try. What is your advice to those people? Then the second advice, what about these people who are only targeting the two big scholarships and they don't want to try other scholarships which keeps coming? For example, I have 3 mentees who stopped applying in October last year. I have gone to their inbox and requested them, please, let's apply for this one. Let's apply for this one. And they said, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it until the deadline passes. What's your advice to those who have attended this call?
I think the first one on having over 7,000 people and only 100 end up applying. I think as we may know, the reason for that is, of course, when you talk about masters, everyone wants to do masters and everyone is excited about masters and everyone is excited to go to UK or just leave the borders of Uganda or Kenya or Tanzania and go to a different country and do masters. But then now the work that comes with that, not so many people are willing to do the work. And so that is probably the reason why people, and of course, even if we were to get statistics that we may not get because of data protection, if you were to get statistics of this 7,000, you also get probably 3,000 or maybe half of that number starts the application and then leaves it midway because of the work. So people are just not willing to put in the work. And that is why sometimes, I don't know, probably maybe the information is freely given and so freely are you giving it out, but also sometimes it may call for some seriousness so that at least you also know that you're dealing with a serious group. I don't know how you will do that. But yeah, the 7,000, not all of them will be willing to put in the work. That is where the problem comes. Now, for these ones who apply the major scholarships and then now just stay and don't want to apply for anything else that comes, I think the advice that I would give them is, for instance, Chevening scholarship, several people apply, not everyone will get it, but you may get this scholarship that would have given you some very good program in Hong Kong or some good program in China, maybe for those who are interested in technology and science and many other programs that China may offer, that you may not want to apply, but would probably give you maybe a way better program or way better scholarship or way better grounding in that field that you want to study. So don't just focus on the UK and Chevening. I'm not saying that you should not apply the UK and Chevening, but these are the programs are also, and that is why now it gets back to you do a research about that program. If you see it's worth applying for, please apply for that scholarship because you may stand a chance of winning it easily as compared to Chevening. Because right now, how many people know Chevening? Or even if they are the scholarship that you are avoiding to apply, there could be statistics. Then you could have checked how many people are applying for that scholarship, for Germany scholarship, as compared to people who are applying for Chevening. And that will tell you probably you stand higher chances of winning the DAD scholarship in Germany than the chances that you stand in winning Chevening. So that as you apply for the Chevening, also apply for the DAD scholarship, because then your chances now are much higher than just putting your chances with Chevening alone. Chevening, you may get it well and good. If you have two of them, that's fine. You will have that chance of, or you'll have that privilege of choosing which one do I want to go to. And now you'll go back to what program suits your interest better. And that would be good for you. That would not make you any less a human being or something. But if you didn't get Chevening and you didn't apply for that, you'll have wasted 1 year and then wait for another successive 1 year to come around, and then you will want to apply again and then probably apply for Chevening again and probably don't make it again. You'll have wasted so much time that you would have saved by applying for that scholarship in Hong Kong or in Japan, and you'd have gotten it and you'd have gone and done your master's or done your PhD and finished and come back to pursue whatever you need to pursue. So don't just fix your mind on one scholarship.
Impressive, and thank you so much. Your talk was very nice, and I still like to interrogate, but now this is the last one from me. But it's just interesting. You commented about people reading and going to read about this before they begin their application. One of the things we have observed is that people don't want to take a step to Google, just Googling or to find out information. What they want is for you to give them a link so they can just click on it and it takes them to the application portal. They don't want to take an initiative to type in the word in the Google itself. What is your one or two last advice to people on the page?
My advice would be research about that program, research about that institution, because it would save you so much time, or it would save you so much stress by researching about it. For instance, let me just compare two universities. If you go to University of Cambridge, the application process is so seamless. Like it's as open as going from page 1 to page 6 and find their link there and click it and apply, and you know everything that is. But some universities are not like that. Some universities you have to dig in through, I don't know what icon, you go to another one, you go to another one for you to just find what you need. For example, I applied to University of Edinburgh last year. As big as it is, it did not require or it had exemption for Kenyan students, and even when it's Kenyan students, it was specifying universities that it exempts from English test. So I had to go through these and these and these, the English test requirement. And then I had to go to exemption per country. I had to go to Kenya. And then for Kenya, they explained everything that you must have qualified to do for you to be exempted. And then I found the list of universities. And then I found Kenyatta University, which happened to have been my university. So I was so confident while applying to Edinburgh, because I knew very well there's no one who will ever ask me for any English test result or any English test certificate. So it would save you so much than just clicking into University A that probably after that would ask you for English test requirement or give you a conditional offer, and then you want to struggle looking for English test certificate that probably you may not have that time, or you may not have the money to do that time. That it would have saved you so much time by knowing that probably the same university that is asking for English test, one of the requirements for exemption is that probably you studied your degree, the undergrad degree in English. So just getting a letter from your university would have saved you all that stress, but you didn't know because you didn't check their requirements. Just sending them an email and then after that uploading that letter would have saved you all whatever amount of money that you'd have used in applying for English test or doing an English test exams by just failing to research about the university, to research about the program, and just when clicking on the application. And then after that, now you're stuck with doing another test to confirm that you don't know English or that you know English, which probably by the time you're finishing your LLB, by the time you're finishing your undergraduate program that was taught in English, you know English.
I just want to hammer your message home. As part of my coaching program, mentees, I tell them, you go in the application system, pretend as if you are applying, and so get all the questions which are in the system, put them in the Word document, and respond to them. And we see how and then we discuss your response to each question. Now, many people, actually, one of the mentees was responding to Fulbright last week. What this mentee was doing, he kept on bringing three questions. That is only the personal statement, and I think the reason for choosing the program. I said we shall not click submit until I have seen all the questions in the system. The truth, and Dr. Dan, you will be shocked with this, and the Obilla, you will be shocked with this. When this candidate, this fellow brought all the 19 questions in the system, the truth is that he wasn't ready to submit. The questions were asked, the things were asked, they're asking very sensitive information. I mean, they're asking him, your teaching experience, because he was targeting the US. Your teaching experience, he had left it blank. Your research experience, he had left it blank. They're asking him, can you describe the program you're going for? He had left it blank. They were asking him that, can you upload your statement, your objective statement, or a concept of what you want to work on when you go for your master's there? And they clearly say that, please describe your research idea, be specific. And this is a must. This gentleman had left it blank. Yet they even put a star on it saying, meaning it was a must. This candidate had left it blank. Now, when I told him, now you see my brother, these ones, you're not ready to click submit. And this was Easter. This was actually on Sunday. I told him, you see, you've been hiding all these 16 questions. You see, we need to respond to all of them. I don't know what he has done. It is possible he has either hid away and he clicked submit, or he has given up. The truth is that he was ignoring other questions which actually needed us to discuss and prepare responses before he could click submit. So I want to thank you for raising that point of saying, please do background reading and then make a decision after you have enough information. So I want to thank you for creating time to speak to us, and I'm sure members who on the call have picked a leaf or two. Maybe just your parting shots, and then we'll close it here.
Okay, thank you, Abel. Thank you, Dr. Dan, and many other people. Thank you for the attendees coming to listen to my story, repeating the same thing that we've had before. I hope that now it makes the message rings home better than before, because you've heard it from someone who's done it before and has applied the same thing that we've been told here before, and it has worked. My parting shots. One, when we come for this, or when you approach Abel or Dan, Dr. Dan, with your motivation to review it, just know that these people are offering themselves they are volunteering to help. They don't have anything personal against you. That is the first thing that you should understand. Because if anything, most of these people, I doubt they are paying Abel. We didn't pay him to be here right now. He had some other things to do, and these people are very busy. Dr. Dan has a whole profession to deal with. So Abel, the same. They have several things to do, and these people are so busy that they are not even going to sleep after the 2 hours, or they are not going to sleep in the next 7 hours. Maybe some of them will not even sleep. They do not even sleep 6 hours in a night. So when you send them some application to review, don't take it personal, or don't think that Abel just don't want me to submit. So if he tells me that I should not submit, then me, I'm going forward and submitting even without him being contented with my application. Just know that he wants the best for you. And if anything, unless most of us, we are not related to Abel, we are not related to Dan, so he will have nothing personal against you. He just wants the best for you. And actually, we should be appreciating them for that. So if he tells you something that this one, my brother or my sister, we are not getting this, or this one, you're still not getting the point, even if he's sending you corrections 10 times, please be willing to comply and to oblige to do those corrections, because they're taking their time to review your work. Why don't you then take your time to redo the work if they've taken their time to review your work? Because then, otherwise, why would they take their time? Because otherwise, then next time you'll send them an application to review, they will not just review. Because if I told you last time and you didn't follow, then why do you want me to review this time? Because I'm just wasting my time and you not follow things that I'll tell you to, probably the things that I'll recommend for your corrections. So let's take them serious, and let's give them easy time. So if I tell you it's not ready, it's not ready. Just keep doing it. And if they're not giving up on you, why are you giving up on yourself? Or why are you giving up on them to make an application that they have told you that this one is not yet ready? Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I wish you the very best in your applications. Thank you so much, Abel and Dan and everyone else, for making time to be here, and for the organizers of this. We say thank you, and we keep doing this more and more so that we keep supporting each other, that everyone must succeed. Asanteni sana, and have a good evening. Or good morning for those who are having their good morning.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we will bring more members on the call. We have the next success story next week. So please, same time, same link, and you're welcome. Bye-bye.